Hi, it's Sela Warren.
And Veda Weissman alongside. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the intersectionality within the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. So this film was released on April 8th of 2022 by A24. And the writers and producers of the film were Daniel Kwan and Daniel, honestly, I can't say that name. You want to give it a shot?
I think it's Daniel Shiner, but I don't want to, the pronunciation's a little
off. We'll put it out there.
Yeah.
And it was also produced by Anthony and Joe Russo alongside Jonathan Wang.
So today we're going to be kind of diving into the production as well as the representation throughout the movie. So that includes Asian American representation as well as LGBTQ plus representation. We're also going to be kind of talking about the consumption, so kind of just what the audience of the movie took away from it. So should we just dive right into the production side of it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
You want to start it off?
Yeah, we'll give her a go. As we've seen, the media seems to have a very stereotypical way of telling stories. Very whitewashed in America. We kind of see the same stereotypes, so, it's always that the black character is dangerous or the Asian character is smartest or... so along those lines, we're always very stereotyped, it seems like in media. But Everything Everywhere All at Once was, applauded by critics and an audience because it, for the first time, almost, it felt like in history that, it was a
Not
very...
whitewashed.
Yeah, it wasn't whitewashed. It was a very Asian-focused movie, So we had not only a predominantly Asian cast, but the production team was predominantly Asian, so it gave a very very fresh look on the Asian American experience in America.
Yeah.
So what else do we got here? So the film actually takes on very many different mediums. So we have science fiction, surreal comedy, immigrant narrative, and animation. So we got a quote from the New York Times that we thought was good to include, and they say that the movie is, in quotes, meant to shake us free from habits of thought, to nudge us to, and the scholar Candace Chu's phrase, imagine otherwise. I mean, this movie is just an absolute roller coaster, and just so much going on. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So, basically in this movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, you kind of follow, this mother and wife named Evelyn Wang, and she's really struggling right now. She's having money problems with her business, problems with her husband, and huge problems with her daughter.
Yeah, I mean, she's going through it.
Yeah,
she's going through it.
Really is. Yeah. And on top of this, she's getting threats from the IRS. So she heads to the IRS building to sort this out, and this is where the movie begins. She is introduced to the multiverse.
So now we kind of want to talk a little bit about the Asian American representation throughout this movie. So many films try to portray the Asian American experience, but they have a really hard time because it's always very whitewashed. They have a predominantly white production team, so it comes off just, in the wrong ways. So it's
hard to relate to normally.
It is, yeah. So in Everything Everywhere All at Once, the production team kind of wanted to take the opportunity to kind of have a new perspective.
And so going off of this new perspective that the team kind of wanted to build into this movie, they also do a great job, giving that stereotypical white agent,
it's just kind of racist.
A little bit racist, you know? And I think one quote that we put in here, I really liked. It's, quote, they should bring their American-born daughter to the meeting so that she can translate, end quote. I think that was, kind of rude.
No, it was. I mean, it kind of is adding into, the whole struggle of being an Asian American in America, especially with, a little bit of a language barrier, and, the IRS agent just kind of, doesn't want to put up with them. So another big thing that we focused on was how it not only was good for the Asian American experience, but it also kind of was good for the entire Asian community. I mean, it focuses on a martial art protagonist who's a middle-aged Asian woman, and it's not very common that you see, number one, a female being, the hero, and also making her middle-aged and making her of a minority group was, super big. I mean, it was great to see in media, So being that she's, she's not your average hero at all, but she's shown overcoming all these things. She's accepting her daughter's sexuality throughout this movie as she discovers all of her, different selves, and she's letting go of her father's disapproval and, finding happiness in life that she's currently living.
Yeah, she's kind of breaking the stereotypical generational trauma that Asian Americans go through. I think it's a very typical thing to be passed down from generation to generation of a different trauma, and she broke that when she left home to move to America. You see her breaking this and starting and rewriting her destiny for her and her daughter, and this kind of brings us into our next topic, the LGBTQ representation in the movie.
Yeah, so early on we're introduced to Joy's girlfriend Becky. We see at the beginning of the film Joy is trying to introduce her, new girlfriend to her grandfather in Cantonese, but can't find the word for girlfriend, so everyone jumps in and she is like, Becky is Joy's very good friend, which, she just brushes it off. She doesn't acknowledge that her daughter is gay. She realizes it, but she just doesn't want to accept it, which, it adds to this already strained mother-daughter relationship. And, but it's important to note that throughout, as the movie progresses, and as Evelyn is faced with Jobu Tupaki, who's also, Joy, but the antagonist, whatever, she realizes that she needs to just accept her daughter, and that it's not important. It doesn't matter who she loves. And Gay Times, they wrote, it's, in quotes, it's only later in the film when Evelyn is trying to get through to Jobu/Joy does she understand how important it is to love Joy for who she is, queerness and all. And I think that's really important because, as we found when, looking into this movie, is that often in Asian families, there isn't much acceptance of the LGBTQ+. So the acknowledgement of this in this movie and the breaking of the stereotype and the breaking of the generational, the generational trauma, I guess, of, the not so accepting families, is really present, and I think that's extremely important to look at,
And Evelyn's breaking it again at the end of the movie when she finally does accept Joy as who she is and who she loves, you know?
And she acknowledges it to her. She finally just says, I don't care what, universe I'm in, I want to be here with you and I want to fix our relationship because I do realize that, I've hurt you and I want to fix it through time. And
you see her going up to her father and telling, this is my daughter's girlfriend.
Yeah, you have to accept it.
Yeah.
And that's really good. And, they said, Daniel Kwan also noted that this is some way a thank you to my mom for constantly allowing space for the unexpected part of us to exist in her worldview. So, he's taking his life experience and putting it into the movie and putting LGBTQ+ in there, and I think, it's really good, and it's
a huge another barrier that these people are breaking down in this movie.
Yeah, and again, Architect Digest, they write that the film serves as a love letter to Chinese immigrant moms who are able to go past their comfort level and accept their children's complexity and layers. This kind of all takes us to just what the audience took away from all of it, and it touches on the mother-daughter relationship as well as family dynamic, and this wasn't just something that touched the Asian community, but everyone. Everyone deals with the mother-daughter strains. And
I do. Yeah, I do.
I do too. And so I think this was the audience really took a lot from it. Not only for me did I feel like I kind of had a lot more insight into just their experience and the migration experience, but it just the relationships and just the complexities that come with it. It was shown beautifully throughout this movie, and I think everyone who watched this movie just took so much away from it. And
I think for the non-Asian American community, at least for me, I felt more educated in a well around this top, because again, it wasn't whitewashed, so I felt very connected in a way to say.
Yeah.
It also talks a lot about, her and her father's relationship, leaving home and traveling to America and starting kind of a new life for herself. That kind of relates to anyone, even going to a different state for college or something, just getting out of that little box you're living in, wherever it is, And so I think that connects with a lot of different people.
Yeah. And I think to sum it all up, this movie was beautifully written, and the production team put so much time and effort into really portraying not only just a fun story that just took you on again a roller coaster, but it was a beautiful story between a mother and a daughter and a husband and wife and even father and daughter, and dealing she doesn't live the perfect life, but in the end she realizes that it doesn't matter. Like, she has, her family, and that's all that matters. And I think that was, it was a beautiful song.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think 10 out of 10. I mean, this is why it won so many Oscars, That is a great point to bring up while we're closing up, It was great. It was great for, I think, the Asian Americans to see that their community was being represented.
It being recognized.
With what? 11 nominees?
Yeah, 11 nominations and winning 7. I mean, 1 for Best Screenplay and 1 for Best Actress.
Hey, let's say it. They made history with this movie.
They made history. They made history.
Go watch it. I highly recommend. If you haven't seen it,
Yeah. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.